Yes, well, thanks very much, Rich, here in the at Mythic Championship Barcelona. Things heating up down in the feature match area. We've just seen a draft with Paul Rietzel and Eduardo. Time to get underway with one of the best in the business, Márcio Carvalho. We've already heard about this Portuguese superstar's CV, and I got to stand behind him. I was lucky enough to see the draft, and I'm interested to figure out exactly what the dynamics were at the table. This was one of the weirder drafts I've seen, Eduardo.
Yeah, from my seat, I saw Paul like with the rest of the world, so I'm more on the broad side of things. But Pack 1 felt not so much weak, but there wasn't a clear direction. And usually when that happens, a lot of people stay open. But if the whole table stays open, that can lead to some weird dynamics where people are, okay, now I shift and I have to get all the playables.
And this is exactly what we saw. This is exactly what we saw down at the feature match area with this draft. We saw a lot of players unsure of where they wanted the deck to go. Some of them getting quite frustrated, visibly frustrated with the way the draft was going. The emotions were running high with some players, of course. Carvalho, he's cool as a cucumber. Cool as two cucumbers, really, he is. And he wasn't worried. We're going to have a look at the table graphic here and see how things were shaking up down on the floor as it was. We saw Márcio Carvalho there sitting between Guillaume Gauthier and Petra Danet, and Petra was one of the players, Eduardo, that I could see was really having a hard time as he sort of wove his way through what was coming around the table. He was getting some mixed signals as they came around, and Carvalho was also, in some pretty rocky waters there. So really one of the weirder drafts I've seen at this level.
Yeah, but here, to one of Marcio's strengths, coming from his teammates in testing, is that he understands how the table kind of shifts. So normally, when it comes to Pack 3, his teammate says, I don't know how he does it, but every time he's in the right
pulls it together. Yeah, he just always pulls it together. That's exactly right. Well, we're going to have a look and see how things shook out down on the floor. Right now, let's get underway with Márcio Carvalho's draft. Of course, we've got our playback standing by ready to go. So Pack 1, pick 1, all the way through to the last card of the third pack. Kicking things off with Márcio Carvalho here, the Portuguese superstar, MPL player, of course. We're expecting big things from him throughout this weekend. Let's have a look, Eduardo, and see what Pack 1 is looking like for him here. Unearth an underused card, I would say, after it's been brought into Modern here, but Winds of Abandon. That's how you want to start a draft.
Somebody nicknamed it Winds of Abandon, which is about correct.
Yeah.
It's probably, if not the best rare in the format, very up there.
I mean,
you can even see the pick on the graphic before it starts.
We know. We just
the person spotting is like, yeah, we know what's up.
It. Yeah, exactly right. So Winds of Abandon, an easy first pick, and certainly exactly how Carvalho wants to start this draft. A high-powered rare that immediately gives him, a direction in which to head. White is a color that has a lot of, a very diverse range of directions in which you can go.
Right. It could be like just up in a straight white deck, or it can be kind of your bomb splashed with Arkham's Astrolabe.
Let's have a look at what's going on with pick 2 here. So a pack that's not too exciting here, Eduardo. Not a lot that's getting me up and about, as I would say here. But Rhyme Tender brought to the front of the pack.
Yeah, again, Rhyme Tender with something like a snow-covered plains works pretty well here with Winds of Abandon. The Putrid Goblin, Black-White, is actually a surprisingly solid archetype, and the reason you don't see something like the Magmatic Sinkhole coming to the front is because White-Red tends to be an aggressive archetype. I did see Marshall yesterday draft a White-Red control deck, but that's not necessarily where you want to be. And
Rhyme Tender the pick here, and I think that, the fail case, 2-mana 2/2, not exciting. You're not writing a letter to mum. You're not emailing mum saying, "Mum, I did it. Pack 1, pick 2, got a 2/2." But all the same.
Although Marshall definitely highlighted from a lot of pros, this is one of the best green commons, if not the best one, for some of the pros in the field.
Sure, it's one of the ones you have to do some work to make it work, to get it across the line, but Snow-Covered Plains might help him do that. But again, we see here one of the flexible options of White, Irregular Cohort.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the powerful commons. It does a lot. Between the two bodies, allowing you to go on wide, it allows you to be an aggressive deck with slivers. It allows you to essentially trade with a bunch of 2/2, so it's very good in a control deck, and that's why you see Mars. Yeah,
great pickup.
Very flexible pickup.
Very, very flexible indeed, as you say. Go in those slower decks, get on the board, get it, nice and defensive. But if we end up in Changelings, if we end up in Slivers, it's a fantastic option to have here.
Yeah, very good with Lancer Sliver, especially on defense.
Oh yeah, blocks all day long.
Oh yeah, like
7 a.m.
anything.
It's blocking. 5 p.m. still blocking. Don't worry about it.
Move on to pack. Does right.
Move on to pack number 3, pack number 4 now. Pick 4 here for Carvalho, and we'll get a look at what he's got cooking here. after a.
Oh, he's a beautiful shot of you in there.
Oh, look at that! Doing my best work. Look at that handsome lad. There he is. Frostwalk Bastion, the pickup there. Very late addition to his. Well, I guess at the moment there's a mild snow theme. 50% of his cards are snow cards. We're all in on snow.
Now right. But it was interesting to see him not pick up Cleaving Sliver. Clearly does not want to go into red-white and prefers to try to stay open in snow.
All right, Moonblade Shinobi brought to the front of the pack here. This is definitely a strong option for Carvalho. No, not a huge amount of synergy with the rest of his deck, but I know that he fancies this card a fair bit.
Yeah, definitely probably the second best blue common behind Mana War. However, however, in these archetypes, the control ones, it tends to be definitely a lot weaker. You want it in aggressive style deck, especially with something like Fairy Seer or Changeling Outcast in the Blue Black Ninjas deck. We
talked about this draft being a weird one, and you can already see that Carvalho across 3 colours, and I can tell you without spoiling too much about how this draft went, we're going to see Carvalho stay open, keep his options open as he heads into these different packs. I talked a bit about the neighbour to his right, Petter there. Petter was really struggling to find a direction in this draft, and a lot of that was because we're going to see the cards that he passed on as we see Stirring Address picked up by Carvalho. And this is one of the interesting textures to explore during a draft like this, the dynamics between the draft that's happening in front of you and the cards that are not only coming downstream, but that you're passing on. That texture is very difficult to read a lot of the time, and this draft highlights that, I think.
Yeah, and some of these picks are, there's a lot you can analyze from the last pick. I think one of the things I'll highlight, Stirring Address over Splicer's Skill. A free for free is normally quite good rate, but here decided to take the pump spell and now taking Enduring Sliver.
Yep.
Which can be good in an aggressive and defensive deck, right? That option, it's a 2-drop, good in either archetype, you need those 2-drops, but with a regular cohort in the late game, you can really build an army.
Yep, exactly right, and at the moment here, we're still seeing Carvalho pull together the identity of this deck. He's picked up, firmly in white, we know that, firmly in white here. But some blue cards brought to the front here, not only Snow-Covered Island there.
Yeah, well, Snow-Covered Island specifically, that's the snowland that comes late. So gets picked early because it's probably the best one with the forest. So seeing it this late can be a signal, whereas a Snow-Covered Mountain wouldn't be.
No, of course, because the snow synergies aren't as especially in black and white as well. We don't see as many synergies as is red. Also the case there as well, as we see now Enduring Sliver number 2 join the picks for Carvalho here.
Yeah, Carvalho deciding to just try to stay white since Winds of Abandon is by far the best pickup. So at that point, Carvalho probably going, you know what, I want to be in white. I'm not sure what the rest is, but that way I get it for sure a playable.
Vesperlark, the white card in this pack, along with a big old wall. But it looks like the Vesperlark is going to be the pick here. Yes, Wall of 1,000 Cuts not getting it done today here.
I think Márcio here prioritizing a low mana curve. There's definitely options in the top end that are easy to pick up. Something like, again, the Wall of 1,000 Cuts was coming around the table.
There's a freebie. There's a Snow-Covered Plains as well. Going to work well with that Frostwalk Bastion with that Rime Tender.
It's really not a nice pickup here because if Márcio ends up in something like green-white with the Rime Tenders.
Yeah, for sure. As we see now, the last packs round out pack number 1 here for Márcio Carvalho at Mythic Championship 4, live from Barcelona. Players currently in the midst of building their decks, of course, so we get the chance to check in with our featured drafter, Márcio Carvalho. And rounding out the last pack with an Ephemerate, a couple of black cards heading in there as well, Headless Spectre. But it looked like black cards were going pretty late. I'm not saying these are all-star standouts or anything, but we saw a Kaya's Guile go around the table, a couple of other black cards as well. Looks like black may have been underdrafted in pack 1.
It's possible. The big one for me was the Azura Smoke Shaper, since it tends to fit in a lot of black archetypes. I think that was pick 6 or 7. So it wasn't late, but it was definitely there and present. Kaya's Guile was interesting too. Obviously it goes late because it's a double 2-color card.
Yes, but Black-White may not be a heavily drafted archetype just yet. We see Cave of Temptation and then a Treefolk Umbra, the very last pick up there. So, as you can see on your screen, brand new graphic as we explore the draft here. We've got our draft dashboard for everyone to get across exactly how things are going. And right now, very clearly you can see Márcio Carvalho firmly in white, an emphasis on a lower curve, as you said there, Eduardo, and with a decent blue card in Moonblade Shinobi and a decent green card in Rhyme Tender, he's set up well to kind of pivot between or towards whichever colour he wants. But having said that, if he opens red card, if he opens a great black card, he can move into red, white, red, black. Oh, sorry, white, red, white, black.
Right, and this is a very standard limited procedure to go, look, I have one color I'm certain I want to pick. There's one color I want to, I have my bomb rare in one color. I just don't know what the second one is. So the best option is rather than drafting 2 full colors in pack 1, you fully commit to one and then take a little bit left and right, and then depending what you open, you will shift.
As we move into pack 2, do you want the inside scoop of what was going on the table? I've already touched upon Petter's draft, the guy to the right of Carvalho here. Do you know what was going on? He was looking at a handful of mediocre white cards.
Oh, no.
He's been picking up white as a secondary colour up until now. That's why the white cards dried up for Carvalho. And we know now, Petter doesn't know this, but we know now that as the cards come around the other way, Carvalho is going to be picking out all those premium white cards, and Petter is going to have to pivot pretty hard at some point soon.
Yeah, going to get the second best.
Yeah, that's it, man. It's not looking good here for the play to the right of Carvalho, but Carvalho, well, he's in a decent spot at this stage. Fiery Islet, the rare in this pack, but Carvalho's probably got his sights set a little bit higher.
Yeah, but unfortunately this pack is not delivering the higher sight here.
No.
Mob being by far the best card in this pack.
Carvalho looks very interested in this exclude here rather than that mob, maybe in that phantasmal form. I don't know if he's trying to avoid black or he just thinks that the blue, paired with the one Moonblade Shinobi he has, that's the direction in which he wants to head.
Yeah, the main thing for me is if you look at the mana curve for Márcio, there's not many free drops. So that's where exclude is best, is you go 2-drop and then you keep, free mana up.
Well, he's going to exclude all other options, take the counterspell here, and an Essence Scatter with a card attached to it, pretty good in Limited.
Yeah, it's like kind of the old school invasion card. There's the pickup.
There it is.
Wow, that's actually so...
So Mana War here and Watch for Tomorrow, both great options. You mentioned that Mana War is the best blue common. Yeah. Look at that. Márcio Carvalho, a man after Marshall's heart. He slams the Mana War into his pack. Didn't have to think about it too long.
Yeah, just for context, Watcher for Tomorrow is one of the better blue uncommons, but Mana War is typically powerful and limited.
Yeah.
However, this set is very aggro tempo, so aggressive and tempo orientated, where Mana War shines particularly well. A 2/2 is also a relevant body. There are many creatures with 2 toughness. It's normally a good card. It is an exceptional one here. It is probably the best common in the set.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that's too big a call there. It's been a classic. It's been a limited classic since forever, and that's not changing now. So Carvalho moves on to pack number 2, pick number 2. Or pick number 3, I should say here. And this is a little less exciting. It looks like Carvalho is shaping up to get into blue here as some blue cards are brought to the vault. What do you think of Fairy Seer?
Fairy Seer, and the reason you see Márcio picking it up so quickly there. So one of the things is if you draft ninjas or if you have online, one of the problems is, okay, how do I actually make these come into play? And you realize over a couple of drafts, actually Fairy Seer and Change the Outcast are things I have to aggressively pick. To some degree, Glutinous Slug. But if you're in blue-white, there's Fairy Seer and there's Segovian Angel, and Segovian Angel is far worse without that enters the battlefield ability. So that's why you see that aggressive pickup of Fairy Seer.
Yeah, well, he takes it nice and early there. And now a weaker pack here as Carvalho settles into white-blue by the look of things. Stirring Address brought to the front of the pack. He likes this card a lot, Eduardo.
Yeah, I think the initial strategy for Márcio there was to have a go-wide kind of control-ish white deck. Which is where both Wings of Abandon and Stirring Address are good. You want to create a board state where your opponent can't attack, so there's a bunch of creatures in front, and at some point they're all gone. But Stirring Address kind of works not in a similar fashion, but you can attack with all your creatures and know that things will go well for you.
Yeah, exactly right. And that second Stirring Address is going to be very useful here for the Portuguese superstars. We move on now to our next pick. And, again, not too much happening here. Spell Snuff, the only on-color card that he might be interested in.
Yeah, this might be a speculative pick. Could be okay here, although Mana War and Exclude are pretty powerful.
I think we're in blue-white here, right at this stage. I think it's sort of we've kind of sealed the deal, and there hasn't been a lot of white cards that have come round. There haven't been a lot of white cards flowing.
No, normally white tends to. The thing with white is because White has commons like Answered Prayers, Irregular Cohort. It's not a color you can get into lightly. So at that point, the person that is in White tends to aggressively take
Greedy, they're just hoovering it all up. There's another Fateful Hour counterspell in Spell Snuff. But a Segovian Angel, a card that you highlighted, Eduardo, as not being hugely powerful or exciting, but Carvalho's going to take it here.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well take it. This pack offers close to no options. And you can pick up something like a Cave of Temptation late, which would work with to create, a decent threat. Plus, with 2 Stirring Addresses, Segovian Angel being able to deal a little bit of chip damage over and over can work. And, Moonblade Shinobi or 2, Segovian Angel starts being very important.
All right. Oh, here is some good snow payoff. Look at this. Not only Chiller Pillar here, but also Blizzard Strix.
Yeah, and kind of the immediate pick.
Easy enough to pick that card. This card is great, especially with a couple of snow-covered lands, Rime Tender, Frostwalk Bastion.
Yeah, for sure. The reason you don't see the Chiller Pillar be picked up there is because it requires quite a bit of snow payoff with 2, while the Blizzard Strix is just fundamentally a more powerful card. It only needs 1.
And it's fine, right? Just as a 5-mana, 3-power flyer. It's not great, but it's fine. Here's a Knight of Old Benalia and a snow-covered island.
Yeah. I would guess the snow-covered island, but...
Well, you'd guess wrong. You'd guess incorrectly,
wrong.
Eduardo.
Oh,
no, put that in your pipe and smoke, it says Carvalho as he picks up the Knight of Old Benalia here. This is another sort of go-wide payoff. We've seen him pick up some early 1-drops, 2-drops, what have you, and this is another way to pump those up, get them in there. Works well with cards like Wind of Abandon. You can get rid of their entire team, bring in the Knight of Old Benalia off suspend and get in there.
I find any cards go well with Winged.
That's actually very true. I mean, yeah, like Grey Ogre is good with Winds of Abandon, right? Ooh, this is a bit of a stinker. We've got an Arkham's Astrolabe as the only real option in that pack there for Carvalho. And, Eduardo, I want to come back to the comments I made at the beginning of the draft. This is a weird one, man. This is a weird draft.
Yeah.
It's sort of, like, a lot of people still don't seem to have found their lane. We got packs that just look super weird. Another Segovian Angel here now for Carvalho.
Yeah, that Arkham's Astrolabe was actually pretty late. It's actually a premium card in the snow archetype. So Márcio didn't take it so much for his deck as, well, look, I don't want
anyone else to have this one. Yeah, exactly.
Like, if somebody's assembling the snow deck, it will be quite powerful because a lot of from Paul Rietzel's deck in this one, the decks seem to be just classic Magic decks.
Yeah. Water-Eye Witch, the pickup here for Carvalho. Probably won't be playing that. Obviously doesn't want anyone else to be able to do so. And there's another Astrolabe and a snow-covered forest.
That is a very late Astrolabe.
These are good cards, right? These are good cards, and no one's taking them.
Yeah, but the reason you see Márcio take that Rank Officer, you're trying to go wide. Rank Officer is pretty good at doing so, and B, preventing it.
Rounding out the final picks here. Rank Officer followed up by Umezawa's Charm. And now a Murasa Behemoth, the second last pick in this pack.
Wow, and Márcio taking... I mean, the Behemoth is probably not going to fall into the deck. So at that point, you're not even... With 1 Spell Snuff already in the sideboard, there's almost no scenario where you have 2, so prefers to get rid of the Trampler.
Final pick there, the Soul Strike Technique. So... pretty solidly into white-blue here. You can see down the bottom of the screen there a few black cards, a few green cards. Not too interested in playing any of them, however. Solidly in white, that's beyond question. But I think some of those blue pickups, particularly the Exclude, the Mana War, the Blizzard Strix, this really has helped Carvalho find a little bit of direction with his deck.
Yeah, it looks like just a traditional blue-white kind of tempo Flyers deck. One nice thing is there's a lot of synergies that normally... you don't see happen in this format. Like, for example, Vesper Lark. Often it's just a 2-1 flyer, but in this deck with the Fairy Seer and the Segovian Angel...
actually, you're just going to do some work. Yeah. But all the same, I don't think I agree with any assessment that tries to paint this as a typical Modern Horizons limited experience. These decks are way scrappier, way kind of held together with spit and string. I mean, Rietzel's deck, we've seen this deck, the other people at the table that I got a chance to look at, no one is there running around high-fiving the rest of the people in the room, going like, I did it, guys, I got the perfect Modern Horizons deck. Sometimes, however, you just get a curveball when you're drafting and you've got to make the best of it.
Right, and what I really like is, at this level of event, if you're used to drafting online, you're facing kind of anybody there. Like,
look at the flexing. Look at the flexing, by the way. These guys still have 30 seconds of review time cover. I was like, I don't need it. I don't need it at all, man. I know every single card in my deck. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to sit here and think about what I'm going to get for lunch. This guy is so chilled out. As I said, cool as 3 cucumbers perhaps even, as he sits there, gets in the zone, has a little nap, wakes up, ready to go for pack number 3, Eduardo. What is he hoping to open? What's the one card he wants to see in pack number 3?
I'd take a second Wings of Abandon.
Another Wings of Abandon?
that would work for me.
Yeah, all right, okay. An uncreative answer, but probably the correct one all the same.
I guess the other rare would be...
oh, look at that. Look at that expert removal of the junk from that table. That's what I really... I mean, the staff here... Oh, was that me? Oh, how embarrassing! I didn't. I just generally. What it's a team effort, really. We all do such good work. Let's move on now to pack number 3, and have a look at what's going on here. Another couple of snow options here, but a Rocks Veteran looks to be the pick here for Carvalho.
Quite a quick pick, and interestingly decides not to take the white-blue rare here, the Unsettled Mariner. That said, it could easily come back. Ingenious Infiltrator, though, I don't think we'll see that come back. It is the premium uncommon in that color combination.
The thing that surprises me at this stage here about Carvalho's deck is that he's taking payoffs like Rocks Veteran, like Knight of Old Benalia, and Stirring Address like this, without really having the stuff to go with it. No token generators, a couple of 1-drops, a couple of 2-drops, but is he maybe looking to pick up more go-wide enablers rather than payoffs as later into pack 3?
Well, that could be true. It's just that, unfortunately, there's not really many of these go-wide enablers. So Marcel's going with flyers, right?
Yeah.
Like, deal 1 damage, deal 2 damage, and then eventually it all adds up.
Eventually deal 3 damage or deal 4 damage with his punch spells. Right? All right, there's a Martyr's Soul. First Sliver's chosen as well. But I like the Martyr's Soul a lot. 3-mana, 3/3. Can't argue with that.
Oh, yeah, I mean... sometimes can come down as a 5/4. With Márcio, if Márcio's curve is low enough, if he goes 1-drop, 2-drop, it still doesn't quite get there.
No. I mean, it's really the dream scenario convoking out the Martyr's Soul.
Yeah, but in this scenario, this situation, you can see how much Márcio's prioritizing cheap creatures. I think that's Márcio's game plan. The Martyr's Soul is clearly not something you want to pick up this early, but Márcio's game plan is really get on the board nice and early.
Yeah, he does want to go keep things as low as possible. There's another Martyr's Soul. But Ikite also under consideration here, as well as a copy of Winter's Rest. Now, at the moment, he does have a decent number of snow permanents. Does he have enough to support Winter's Rest?
Yeah, Winter's Rest kind of... I mean, obviously in the snow deck is just straight-up removal, but if you have, I'd say 5-ish, 4, maybe 5 snow permanents, it kind of works. The Strix, again, is a snow permanent. So at that point... I'd guess free, like a combination of free snow islands / plains and maybe the Frostwalk Bastion as well would do the trick here.
All right, well, I was going to pick it up and maybe prioritize some snowlands as we continue here. Let's look at what's up. Ooh, there's a snowland. There's another snow-covered island. Pondering Mage as well, an option.
Moonblade Shinobi, though, exactly what Márcio wants.
Yeah.
Cheap creatures with evasion. They don't get much better than paired with this card.
Especially as he's looking to get on the board and go nice and wide with those tokens. If that Moonblade Shinobi can get in there a couple of times, make a couple of tokens, that's going to make all of those other pump effects like the Rocks Veterans, like the Stirring Addresses, like the Knights of Old Benalia, it's going to make them so much better.
Yeah, one nice thing with this Moonblade Shinobi as well is with all these, Stirring Addresses, the thing is, Moonblade Shinobi is nice on the first hit, but it tends to not be able to get in a second time without something like Smoke Shroud. But with a pump spell, you can at least ensure that your opponent's going to block and maybe remove a key creature.
Yes, yeah, exactly right.
And there's a Fairy Seer as well.
And a Bizarre Trade Mage. Take to the skies on a magic carpet.
So, Bizarre Trade Mage is kind of this interesting... It is card disadvantage, which usually players are not the biggest fans of.
Yeah, but you know what is also card disadvantage? Dying to a 3/4 flyer on turn 3 with 5 cards in hand. Yes, but Márcio Carvalho is going to show us the world here as he picks up the Bizarre Trade Mage.
Yeah, and with a low curve, this kind of is fine. Like, Márcio does want to get to 6 lands, but that's an eventual thing. And the free power flyer is going to work nicely in his deck.
Ooh, Smoke Shroud here, opening up our next pack. But what else have we got going on? Another snow-covered island. Maybe he's interested in that. He does want to get that critical mass of snow islands and snow lands. And yes, indeed, there it is. And you're agreeing. You think this is a good pick?
It is actually a pretty close pick. I think the snow-covered island, powering up your Strix and Winter's Rest while not taking a spell slot, because Márcio has a lot of spells. So like it just adds to the deck without having to require another spell. Whereas something like Smoke Shroud, while it's nice with Moonblade Shinobi, there's already a lot of flyers in Márcio's deck, so it's very conditional.
A regular cohort alongside another sliver here, but he can't pick that cohort fast enough.
Yeah, it's one of the better. It's definitely one of the better white commons, along with Answered Prayers and Settle Beyond Reality.
But I think just one card that generates 2 bodies, Carvalho's like, give it to me.
Let's go.
Give it to me.
You probably would have been as fast with Answered Prayers. Like these white commons are so good well, it's exactly what Márcio wants. It's the strategy. It's what we're going for.
Let's have a look at our next pack here. Another Snow-Covered Island, another Martyr Soul, and another Knight of Benalia. He's got his pick of the litter here.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. Knight of Benalia, it can be an awkward card, but like in Márcio's deck, if he's really into this go wide strategy, it's what you should do. It's also a 1-drop.
Yep. Yeah, that's very true. Gives you something to do in the early turns, and of course we'll pay real dividends later on. Nice little long-term investment there, and Carvalho is going to take the Knight of Old Benalia. He is looking to go wide, and there it is. It's come back. Unsettled Mariner. You are an absolute genius, Eduardo.
Well, actually, it's Márcio, because he had to take the risk.
No. You take the credit for this one, mate. You take the credit. That's fine.
Yeah, but one of the better 2-drops. I mean, you don't draft. The thing is, white-blue is not often drafted. So when you open a card like this, it's not a card you want to splash.
But what do you like?
Come back
as we have a look at this last couple of picks here, Carvalho. What was going through his head? He opens up the unsettled Mariner. Smoke Shroud enters the fray. Does he go like, nah, this is wheeling. I'll take the Rocks Veteran because I know I'm getting this Mariner back.
Oh yeah, the Rocks Veteran. I mean, it's a powerful card too. Exactly what Márcio wants, but for sure. And Márcio said, yeah, this Mariner is probably coming back.
What a Stone Cold Master. What a Stone Cold Master. There's another Frostwalk Bastion as well. Another Snowland here for Carvalho.
And another Fret. With Knight of Old Benalia, this is actually pretty good because it gives you an additional Fret on the board on that key turn.
Let's have a look at our last couple of picks. Oh, this is better stuff here for Carvalho. Snow-covered island going so late.
That is, yeah, no, but I doubt that someone's in blue-green snow and that.
Yeah, I mean, this is one. I mean, we saw people excited to draft this deck in the break. We saw people talking about how good this archetype was, and here's Carvalho picking them off. You know, 4th last pick.
If there's no Tree Folk or Great Payoff, that's what happens. And yeah, while this deck gets rounded down, one of the nice synergies with these Knight of Old Benalias is the Blizzard Strix.
Oh, yeah. Pick
build
them up.
your own stirring address.
Do it again. Ransack the lab. Stream of thought. Face of divinity. The last couple of picks there for Carvalho. Now, look, again, he's not going to be trumpeting this deck from the rooftops. He's not going to be saying, I really did it. This is the best deck I've ever drafted. I can't believe my luck. But I think after a shaky start, and again, at one of the strangest tables I've ever seen, Eduardo, you're not going to be unhappy with a deck like this.
No. And just for people who enjoy Limited but maybe haven't had a chance to draft Modern Horizons as much, the set is extremely synergy-based. It's usually pretty easy to build an archetype when you want to, as long as it's open. This is what we saw Paul Rietzel and Márcio Carvalho do is unusual. It's actually, these archetypes do exist, right? Like blue-red card draw with the Minotaur, with the Eye-Kite. And Márcio more on this kind of white-blue deck that normally is blink-based, but here it's just aggression, and that's what we see here.
I mean, there's an identity, right? Even if it's not the identity that Modern Horizons would have you in sort of by default. What I like is that he's scrapped together this kind of plan B for the color pair, and this is the mark of a draft master. It's and there are many players in this hall who will be able to do this. Oh, the cards aren't falling my way. I'm not in the typical color pair archetype. I'll find a way to make these tools work in the way that I want to make them work.
Right, and for me the key there was Martyr Soul, Knight of Old Benalia. These are only cards that go very late if you draft online. But here Márcio just shifted gears and went, this is what I want.
Exactly, and this is what I'm talking about.
Aggressive. Like you saw that pick 2 in pack 3, that Martyr Soul. That's very unusual.
Yeah. Exactly right. But he's gone to the tool shed. He needs to screw in. He's trying to find a screwdriver to get the screw in. He goes, you know what? I'll just use a hammer. It's still going to get the screw in. It's not going to be as elegant, but I'll still win games. That's exactly how Márcio Carvalho has done a very creative approach to drafting there, a creative approach to hardware problem solving. Anyway, that is just about that for our featured draft. I have to say, I've said it before, I'll say it again, one of the weirder drafts that I've seen. But of course, we've got plenty more stuff coming your way from Mythic Championship Barcelona, my friends. Stay with us, of course. We'll be back with more magic in just a few months.